What's up, party people? It's your old pal F here. And oh my goodness, there's so much going on in the world of animation lately. I've been having trouble coming up with something to talk about here because there's just so much that I could talk about. Not the least of which is the fact that, Disney has decided to get in bed with OpenAI, which has a lot of people distressed, and I can't blame you. I'm not thrilled about it either. And I mean, things are being canceled. Warner Brothers is being bought, supposedly, just all this different stuff. And, like I said, there's so much going on. I have found it difficult to find a topic to hone in on that isn't, at least on some level, kind of depressing. So rather than do that, I thought I would try and talk about something at least slightly positive with regard to where animation is going as a medium and as an art form, as opposed to as a money truck. Because let's face it, I have no complaints about how I did with regard to my career in animation. I did a lot better than a lot of other people. I did a lot better than most people, I made good money. I met nice people. I worked on fantastic projects. A lot of great stuff happened. But, animation has never been a thing that, generally speaking, sets you up for life. And it's not something, it's not a cash cow. The people who get rich off animation are going to be the same people who get rich off of, media in general. It's always going to be the people at the top that actually get rich off this stuff. So, I wanted to talk about where I think this can have a silver lining on the otherwise dark cloud of, it looks like our legacy studios are really gearing up to just start shoveling out content, which is depressing. It's sad. It's disappointing. But that seems to be the way the wind is blowing. That's the dark cloud. The silver lining to that dark cloud is we have things like YouTube. We have avenues where the average creator can come up with stuff and put it out there for the world to see. And as we've seen with a lot of independent animation, it can be successful. It can be a worthwhile venture. And so I thought I would focus on that today, on where, not just where independent animation is going, but also how you can be a part of it. Because I get approached a lot and I get asked a lot of questions. I get sent a lot of links to cartoons that people are working on and stuff like that. And I get asked a lot. It's kind of funny when people ask me, hey, how do I do an independent cartoon? And the fact of the matter is, I'm still learning myself. As you will note, this channel is not a big, bursting channel. We're doing better than some and worse than others. We're not hell of a boss. We're not lackadaisy. We're not any. We're not any of those sort of big name things that you've come to hear a lot about when people talk about independent animation. We're kind of lower mid, even if you're being general. We're a startup, and by golly, we're honest about it. We're small but proud. And say what you will about Fountain's Pen Productions, which makes Fountain's Pen cartoons, for what is a very, very grassroots operation, we've created, as you will note if you take a look through the videos on our channel, we've made a good, solid, over 22 minutes worth of cartoons. And not just one pilot, we've made a variety of things. And I consider that to be fairly impressive. And it sounds like I'm patting myself on the back here. No. Do not mistake this for that. What I'm saying is, I was fortunate enough to find and work with a tremendous group of people who are just really, really dedicated, really, really devoted. Uh, and because of that, we've been able to produce 22 minutes of good, solid cartoons. Um, Now you may watch our 22 minutes and go, what? Hell of a Boss is better, Lackadaisy is better, Monkey Wrench is better, all these things are better. Yes. Um, I would argue, better production wise, but keep in mind, we've done this with no funding. We've done it all just in our spare time. We've done it with crews that have largely little to no experience. And even with all those things, and by the way, we've done it with a leader who has never done independent animation before, doesn't, is not that savvy with regard to, putting stuff on YouTube. I mean, I still don't have a microphone that I'm using here. This is still the lowest possible production value you can imagine. But even with all that, we've done, 20 some odd minutes of good, solid cartoon entertainment. So, I do get asked, how can I do this? How can I make my independent cartoon? How should I go about it? And the thing is, the way you should go about this kind of thing, as I am still learning myself, is not that different from how it was when I was trying to pitch cartoons when I lived in Hollywood, and the basic rules still apply. They apply to anything and everything. So I thought I would talk about that a little bit. Um, so you say you want to do an indie cartoon. That is fantastic. Now, some of you maybe go, oh my gosh, why is he helping other people or trying to help other people make indie cartoons? That's just more competition. That's the thing, though. I don't see this as a competition, not yet anyway. My opinion is, the more independent cartoons we have right now, the better. And the wider variety we have, the better. Because here's the thing, with the big corporations going the way they're going, like I said, it looks like they are really just leaning in on this whole, we're just going to keep recycling stuff over and over and over again. And yes, there are exceptions to those rules. Thank goodness. There are occasional exceptions to those rules, like your K-pop demon hunters and stuff like that. Good stuff does happen from time to time, and I believe that will always happen with the legacy studios and whatnot. But with every animation executive clicking his heels and clapping his hands, going, "Oh, this is great! AI can do it all now and do it cheaper." I feel like they're really, really leaning in on this whole "let's just have AI do everything" tactic, which ultimately I believe is going to backfire on them. It's either going to backfire or there's going to be a backlash or something like that. But regardless, them leaning into the slop gives independent animation the opportunity to sort of let the world know, hey, guess what? There's an alternative here that you can turn to. And is it as slick and is it as flashy and all that stuff? No. But what we have that they do not have, we have in truckloads. We have sincerity. We have, cartoons that we can put out that, yes, are not as slick, are not as, commercially blah, blah, blah. But, they're entertaining and they're sincere and they look like they were made by human beings as opposed to, these factory churned out things that the big studios are kind of leaning towards right now. And call me naive, call me a hopeless, helpless optimist, but I think people are going to respond to that. So I think it is worthwhile for as many of us as possible to do independent cartoons, because I believe when one of us wins, all of us wins. I mean, the fact of the matter is, would I love the type of commercial success that things like Hell of a Boss and Has Been Hotel and Lackadaisy and all these, where Week and Glitch, Would I love that kind of success? Absolutely. But you can't resent them, because without them, no one would probably even be talking about independent animation. So um, I would encourage anyone out there, if you've got an idea, don't go to, because right now it seems to me like it's never been a worse time ever to try and pitch anything to Hollywood. Now, anyone can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but right now, I just wouldn't even bother. If you've got an idea, if you've got a concept, just make it. Just make it yourself. And that's kind of what I'm trying to help you out with regard to this video, because I've watched a lot of demo reels, and I've seen a lot of material by people who want to get started, but they're having a real problem getting started. And one of the things that I can sort of say we have successfully done at Fountain's Pen Cartoons is we've gotten started. And a lot of times that's the hardest part. So I wanted to talk about some very, very fundamental tips for approaching this notion of doing an independent cartoon. Because there is a lot of common errors that I see coming up over and over and over again. And here's what they are, and consequently, here is my advice to you on approaching an independent production. First of all, you need to have an idea, obviously. You should not go into it unfocused. Now, that being said, if you spend too much of your time sort of crafting the lore and world building, you're never going to get down to actually making it. And that's a thing. There's a saying going around that I absolutely approve of, that I absolutely agree with. First make it exist, and then make it good. If you go back to the very earliest cartoons on this channel, it was just me pounding out little black and white animations to make myself chuckle that, again, are so-so in quality, but at least they were there. The channel was here so that when I started compiling my wonderful, wonderful crews of people, we had a place to put it, and there was stuff already up there. So it wasn't just sitting there by itself. So again, have an idea, but don't get so wrapped up in your idea that you try and make it perfect for your first go-round, because I can assure you it won't be perfect. It's gonna be flawed. And in fact, you're gonna look back on it and go, wow. But that's a good thing. That means you're growing, and that means you're learning. So don't feel like you have to put it up and then be like, oh my gosh, now it's canon. Who cares? Like I said, make it exist, then make it good. And apropos to that, my first, biggest, most important tip that I have for new creators, and this you can apply this to a comic, you can apply this to practically anything. Keep it simple. Okay, if you're an independent creator, do not run out there and try to out Lord of the Rings, okay? Don't come up with your humongous, epic, legendarium, and then expect to be able to produce a cartoon all by yourself and get it up and out there. Because, again, what you will find happening is the task seems so daunting, and it seems so big and so unachievable that you'll burn out, and you'll burn out fast. And that's not good for you. That's not good for us, because, we, the audience, want to see what you have to make. So don't try straight out of the gate to create a pilot that's perfect, or don't try and create anything that's perfect. Just test the waters, play around with the medium a little bit before you go stampeding into trying to out Tolkien. Just do something simple. Keep it simple. Don't come up with the town of Springfield. Don't come up with 500 characters that have to, don't come up with characters that have these elaborate backstories that you're never ever going to be able to get to. Because as we have all discovered via all the various social media channels, people, when they're approaching something new, do not have a big attention span. If you want to get an audience, you're going to have to come up with something that people can grasp onto easily. That's not going to happen if you have a scroll at the beginning of your cartoon explaining, how suns and moons work in your galaxies. It's a lot to ask the current viewer, and that's not something you want to do. You want to grab people right away. You want to say, here's what I've got as a creator, here's a taste of what I can offer you as a creator. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. So again, just keep it simple. Come up with one or two characters, come up with one story idea, come up with something very, very, very simple, and something realistic that you can make. Unless you've got an army of really, really good friends who are absolutely going to be willing to, dive in and help you out, that's all the more reason to keep it simple. Keep it something that you are going to have fun with and not get tired of. So if you keep it simple, if you keep it just nice, short, sweet, just a taste of what you have to offer the viewing public, you're setting yourself up for a much more realistic experience. Because once again, if you come up with something that is so daunting that you either can't do it yourself, and you can't find enough people who are willing to contribute to it for potentially no money, you're just going to be stuck in limbo the whole time, and you're never going to get anything out there. Which brings us to the next part. You have to be realistic. I, with regard to the world of animation, am sort of I'm a D-list name in the animation world, and that's being generous to me. But I did have the means to sort of reach out to and cast a wide net to a large amount of people and be like, hey, I've got a track record, I'm making cartoons, does anyone want to join me? And even with that, even with, being able to say, hey, I did the Fairly Odd Parents, I did Invader Zim, I did Rick and Morty, even with all that, I had a ton of people approach me, and we've got a great group now who are very, very committed, but it was tough getting people in, and it was tough getting people who were there for the long haul. And that's nothing against anyone who has come and gone. All I have to offer with regard to my little production crew here is education and work that they can show off, and the feeling that they're a part of something, and that's not nothing. That has value, and that's all I had to offer. I knew that if I had started a crowdfunding or started Patreon or anything like that to launch a channel with, I knew it would be years before I'd be able to actually hire people and do it the way some of these other folks have done. One of the things that you will probably notice if you go back and sort of follow the backstory of a lot of these successful productions, your Has-Been Hotels and your Glitch and all that stuff, is they started small, and it has taken them years to get to where they are. So you can't, if you don't have a track record in animation, if you don't have an already pretty decent following, it's gonna be tough for you to say, here's my GoFundMe address and here's my crowdfunding information, give me your money and I'll make you a cartoon. It's understandable why, and yes, your friends and family are going to donate a couple of bucks here and there, but you're not going to raise the kind of money that is competitive enough to get top-notch animators to work for your thing. You have to be realistic, and the only way you can be realistic is to go back to step one: keep it simple. Keep it simple and keep it realistic. Don't try and make something that you don't have the ability to make. Again, when I started this channel, you'll note the one of the first cartoons that we started really focusing on was Flotchy, Notchy, and Tip. Why? Because it's a very simple concept. It's two characters. It's a very simple story with a beginning, middle, and end. And if it's the only episode we ever make, it's a fun standalone little cartoon. By the way, no dialogue in it, so it can be shown in any country. You know, it has the most broad appeal imaginable, and that was intentional. That was by design. Now, for season 2 of Fountain's Pen Cartoons, we've got some much more ambitious stuff coming your way, and how I wish I could show you some of the stuff we're working on, because it's really amazing. But we knew that for season 1, we needed to keep it simple, which is why there's lots of really quick cartoons, really quick gags, really quick jokes, and stuff that we could use as sort of our, okay, let's test the waters, let's get our feet wet, let's not try and invent the universe on a zero budget and no real time frame. So again, keep it simple, keep it realistic. And the other thing, the next thing I would advise people to do is prioritize. Once you've sort of decided, okay, I've got a nice simple idea, I've got a good simple story, I know I can tackle this. I either have people who are willing to work with me, or I have a means with which to do this myself. One of the biggest problems that I see a lot of wannabe independent channels, speed bumps that they run into, is everyone wants to do the fun stuff first. They do just pages and pages and pages of turnarounds and character sheets and background story writing and just pages and pages of all this stuff, and nothing ever gets animated. And then when something finally does start getting animated, everybody dives right into the fun part and nobody wants to handle the hard part. You need to prioritize. You need to say, okay, what's going to be the most difficult part about this? What's going to be the most important part of this? In other words, you want to animate, in my opinion, you want to animate the hardest scenes first. Because that way you know that if you can get that part done, you can get the rest done, no problem. So don't just do the fun stuff. And that's the other thing. When a lot of these studios start up, and by the way, the reason I know a lot about this is because back when I was in Los Angeles, and it was a grand time to be part of animation in the late 90s, every now and then a group of either friends or acquaintances of mine would say, let's start an animation studio together, and we're all so great, let's just all team up and we'll start our own studio. And everyone would get all excited, and everyone would do some cool, promo art, and they would print up t-shirts, and they would make flyers, they would talk about taking out ads in Variety magazine and stuff like that. All that would happen before anyone honed in on an idea that was workable. Everyone always wants to tackle the fun stuff right away. Nobody ever wants to sit down and go, okay, but what is our schedule? And what is our timeline? And what are our goals? Nobody ever wants to make the flow sheets to figure out, okay, how's this actually going to work? And that becomes a huge part of these things, especially, again, if you're doing it by yourself, and if you have those means, I can't encourage you enough to do it by yourself. Because when you're doing it by yourself, you have only one person to answer to. I was fortunate enough to immediately, come into contact with my head of production, Tiger, who right away was like, I will handle all the other things. And the channel wouldn't exist right now if it weren't for that. And then he was able to find other people to help cover the stuff that he couldn't do on his own. And those people got other people to help with the stuff they couldn't do on their own. That's what I'm talking about. Know what your own limitations are. Know what you're good at. Because I went into this and I said right away, I am bad at the internet stuff. I am bad at the, I'm bad at scheduling. I'm bad at planning. I'm like, so if I ever hope to do anything with this, I'm going to need to find people who are good at that. And they're out there. That's the wonderful thing about the sort of the fact that independent animation has a pair of legs now, and people are kind of excited about it. There are plenty of people out there who don't aspire to be animators or character designers or anything like that. There are people out there who want to be part of the animation process but are not themselves animators, who just want to be a part of it, and they are good at planning, and they are good at organizing, and they are good at bringing people together and that sort of thing. Get somebody to help you with that stuff. If you're not going to do it by yourself, get someone to help you who is good at that stuff. One of the reasons I think we've been able to pull this off, in addition to all of the wonderful people that I've got helping me out, and all the people who did step up and just come out of the woodwork to go, hey, I'm good at this, or I'm good at Discord, or I'm good at handling this part of it. If that hadn't happened for me, we wouldn't be where we are. And where we are is we are a growing channel, and I think that's a wonderful place to be. Because we are still in a place where we can make mistakes and correct them. We can sort of look at what we've gotten right and what we've gotten wrong, and we can, continue to adjust as we went along. But a lot of that couldn't have happened if I had micromanaged everybody, because nobody likes to be micromanaged. So if you're going to get people who are helping you out, be grateful for them and be nice to them. And that's another big thing, is you need to promote yourself, and in doing that, you need to be nice about it, and if you're out there and if you're nice, people will want to work with you. If your whole stance is, I'm angry and I'm going to do this thing because to heck with everybody else, that's not really going to get people flocking to work with you. You should approach this not as I'm going to do this to stick it to the man and blah, 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 blah. One of the reasons that I think we've now been around for over 3 years is our first commitment was to having a good time. We have all said, and that's why people have come and gone, we have all said, the minute this stops being fun, we stop. And so if you make your production fun, people will want to continue to work on it with you, especially, like I said, unless you're really, really fortunate enough to get the kind of funding that will bring lots of other people in. You need to make it fun, and you need to realize that, okay, not everything is going to get done on time. Not everything is going to look exactly the way you pictured it in your head. Not everything is going to go perfectly. You need to allow yourself the ability to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And that's a big part of it too. Cut yourself some slack. And all these things should happen organically if you just keep it simple. But don't assume that you're going to come up with something that, looks like it was, produced at Glitch on your first go round. It's just very likely not going to. Give yourself, and consequently, if you've got that idea that is your Lord of the Rings or is your Star Wars or whatever it is, don't do it first. Do something simpler first to allow yourself to make mistakes and to screw up and to course correct and all those things. And like I said, I've got a list here of things that I've been thinking about for a while with regard to, because, again, over the course of Fountains Pen Productions, one of the things that I've enjoyed about the process is not just learning what I was right about with regard to, I bet production should be run this way. I've had a really good time with the things I've been wrong about. That should be part of it too. Enjoy the process. You know, if you're going into it because you want your cartoon to be a smash hit straight out of the gate, you are just setting yourself up. Now, if that happens to you, more power to you. No one will be happier for you than I am. But you shouldn't assume that the very first thing you produce is going to be a blockbuster. You know, you're putting yourself out there in a huge world with a whole lot of people who are trying the same thing. So if you're doing it for any reason other than this is fun or this is a goal I have or something internal like that, you're probably going to be setting yourself up for frustration. So again, more than anything, keep it simple, prioritize, and make it fun. Don't expect to get rich. Don't expect Hollywood to ring you up tomorrow. Don't expect fantastic reviews right out of the gate. Don't expect anyone to see your very first cartoon that you put on YouTube and go, oh my gosh, that's what we've been waiting for. Oh, bless your heart. Don't expect it. Be secure with the fact that the very first thing you put out there is probably not going to be received the way, you know, you think of it yourself. It's your baby. You think it's cute. Not everybody else is going to have the same reaction. And that really kind of wraps up my biggest pieces of advice for anybody out there. Not just anybody out there who's interested in independent animation, but for people out there who have ideas that they've got percolating. Like I said, this is a terrible time to be pitching Hollywood, as far as I'm concerned. And you guys are among some of the most frustrated people out there, and I do not blame you. It is frustrating, because it's really hard right now to start a career in animation. So my advice to you is get out there, just make the thing. And if it's a hit someday, great. But if it's not, you can at least say that, man, you really, really, you put it out there, you put the effort in, and you went for it, as opposed to just sat around and bemoaned about, you know, how bad things in the industry are. You know, we have an opportunity here to fundamentally change the way people are entertained. And, you know, do I wish that the legacy studios were making better choices? Absolutely, of course I do. But I am also wildly, wildly excited about this new frontier, and I'm wildly excited to play a part in it, no matter how small it is. And I feel like that's the approach that you should take to this. You know, don't expect anything out of it other than your own satisfaction and your own sense of, I tried something, I took a risk, I created something and put it out there. Because, by the way, that's enough. There are so many people out there who have ideas. Oh, I've got these great ideas. Everybody has ideas. It becomes an act of bravery when you actually do the work and get your idea out there. And a lot of people with really great ideas never get them out there because they spend so much time trying to get it perfect and trying to make sure that the very first thing that they put out looks amazing, and then it never gets out there. I'm telling you guys, just getting it out there is an accomplishment in and of itself. So if you've got this great idea, get it out there, get it done, make it exist. Because in my mind, the more choices people have, the more we keep this wave rolling right along, the better it'll be for all of us, and the bigger this phenomenon will grow. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful on some level. If it has, and even if it hasn't, please give our cartoons a watch, because in case you haven't figured it out, I create this content on the cheap so that I can pass the savings on to you and put all of the real effort into the making of the actual cartoons. So if you've made it this far, please watch the cartoons. Please spread the word, tell a friend, let people know we're around, and then get to work and do it yourself. And I never ever want to feel as though we are competing with anybody. I want us all to be part of a big independent animation community, and I think that has value. I think that there's an opportunity for personal satisfaction that we all have, and it's right there for the taking. And I hope you join us, and I hope we all have a blast together. Zigga zigga, party people.